This is Moonlord, the final boss of Terraria. Generally considered the hardest and most annoying boss in the game. He's actually my least favorite boss in Terraria because in my opinion, the fight is a poorly designed, frustrating mess. Wait a minute. I don't like vanilla Moonlord. It's a two-stage fight that has the player grappling with 3 targets in phase 1 while dodging an unholy amount of projectiles and then dealing with abominable levels of RNG and damage output in phase 2 with the True Eyes of Cthulhu. But all in all, once you understand the attack pattern and how to move effectively, or just run got him, vanilla Moonlord becomes a pushover. This is Calamity's Moonlord, a slightly souped up edition of vanilla. The attacks are mostly the same, but all attacks give a nasty damage over time debuff, and the original body eyes are still a factor when the true eyes are floating around. Basically, they took vanilla Moonlord and made it worse, but he still falls to a lot of the same strategies, and Calamity's mechanics allow for insane damage and survivability. The extra attacks and projectiles aren't much of an issue when you can shred his health in seconds. Infernum Moonlord is generally considered the hardest version of the fight. Given Infernum's popularity and reputation as well as the fight design, it's easy to see why. The fight, much like all Infernum fights, is completely reworked. The death ray is completely changed to this pinwheel pattern. The true eyes have a separate attack pattern from phase 1 and work in sync with each other based on how many eyes are out. And of course, it features a strict tile border to trap the player in. Fully turns a chaotic, messy fight into a precision-based bullet hell. Contrary to popular belief, however, Infernum is not the hardest difficulty in modded Terraria, and Infernum Moonlord is far from the hardest Moonlord fight out there. That's not to say it isn't hard or that I don't find it hard. It is quite difficult, and I still struggle with it to this day. But once you get in the groove of Infernum and use your gear wisely, it still only takes a handful of attempts on average. Compared to what's to come though, it's a cakewalk. This is the fight that made me regret my entire run. Fargo Souls, Legendary Masochist, Moonlord. Fargo Souls has an interesting reputation. Most casual players know it as the Soul of Eternity mod, the one with the mile-long crafting tree that looks insane, but honestly really isn't if you play the game correctly. Calamity players see it as the large add-on mod that adds a bunch of new OP accessories and shit. But if you play Fargo Souls on its own and engage with it the way it was intended, it is an incredibly fun, tightly balanced, and interesting mod, given that you play it on Eternity mode, the actual intended difficulty. Fargo Souls is also home to Masochist mode, a juiced-up version of Eternity that adds new attacks, new pain, and of course ratchets up the stats of everything. And then there's Legendary Masochist, played on a master world with a For the Worthy seed. It takes Masochist mode and turns up the difficulty more, adding new changes to each boss that deliberately fuck with the balance and completely change how some bosses work. Nobody should ever play this. And even further, nobody should do what I'm currently doing and play this mode as their first run through Fargo Souls. This is not a challenge. I know how Terraria players think. You should not do this. This version of Moonlord is the most unfun, painful, evil, fucked up fight I have ever contended with in a video game. Yes, that includes shit like Elden Ring, because I know some guy is gonna say some shit about Melania or pre-nerf Radon. I would like to let it be known though, that when I say all of those things, I do not mean the hardest. Golem in Legendary Masochist still takes the cake. As of now, we'll see how Mutant goes. But in order for you to understand how awful For the Worthy Maso Moonlord is, I first need to show you the proper Fargo's Moonlord on Eternity mode. Eternity Moonlord, I would argue, is in fact easier than Infernum, despite how complex it appears to be. This version of the fight heavily encourages multi-classing, much like the rest of the Fargo Souls mod. Moonlord in this mode inflicts a permanent debuff called Nullification Curse, which increases the boss's damage reduction to attacks of the wrong class. It will cycle between each class, denoted by the screen color and the celestial fragments in the background, primarily taking damage from the class that is active. In Eternity mode, weapons from any other class will deal 60% less damage. Each phase also adds an attack themed around the active pillar, mostly focusing on area denial. All attacks also deal the Curse of the Moon debuff, which reduces damage, crit chance, and damage reduction by 20%, and defense by a flat 20. Moonlord also moves significantly slower than his vanilla counterpart, making him seem more imposing while also reducing a lot of the frustration that I feel build towards his original fight. The vanilla Moonlord battle is chaotic and messy due to the constant need to reposition, which can get really annoying when you're being pelted with projectiles from literally all sides. And dealing with the death rays is straight up irritating, especially since the true eyes don't synchronize when you pop them out, equating to conflicting laser trajectories. The slower movement changes the fight to a more thought out, methodical battle, much like Infernum's fight. Also like Infernum, there is a border, though it's not static and it will damage you if you touch it. All of Moonlord's vanilla attacks are present, though tweaked to fit the adjusted movement speed and playstyle. Notably, the eyes inside the body don't do contact damage, and the eye rain attack does not have homing. The phantasmal bolts and spheres have their acceleration and targeting AI tweaked, and the spheres have a nifty little telegraph. The core phase is where it really kicks off though. The area denial gets stronger, he attacks and cycles faster with lower health, and there's often more projectiles. Killing him grants you the satisfaction of a grand victory, your typical vanilla loot, and the Chalice of the Moon, an accessory that grants immunity to Moonlord's debuffs, making subsequent fights much easier. But Legendary Moonlord is another story. Almost everything I said for Eternity is the same, but there are 3 small alterations. The first change, Nullification Curse reduces damage from non-active classes by 100%, meaning multi-classing is forced. This isn't terrible, have a weapon from each class and wear Gaia armor. Not an issue, really. It'll extend the fight slightly since you won't get free damage from minions while using the other weapons, but it's not that big a deal. The second change is that the True Eyes will desynchronize their attacks slowly over the course of the core phase. As long as you're keeping your damage output as optimal as possible, they shouldn't desync too terribly. In all my attempts, even at their worst, they were still firing off the same attacks, just not exactly at the same time. The third change is the truly evil one, yet is somehow the simplest. He has vanilla AI. Rather, his speed is returned to vanilla levels and the adjusted vanilla attacks return to their vanilla state. The area denial becomes moving laser grids, the phantasmal bolts are a constant annoyance, and dealing with the spheres on top of everything else is awful. Thank Christ they didn't revert the body-bound eyes to have contact damage or reinstate the eye rain homing. On top of this dreadful fucking change, Legendary mode of course also increases overall damage taken and the hit points of the boss, making the average fight time a whopping 3 minutes with a mostly optimal build. Combine the heavy damage with Curse of the Moon and you can get literally one-shot by some of the projectiles no matter how much health you have. And this is on top of the already considerable Masochist mode changes, like adding in this vortex during the vortex phase that absorbs projectiles and shoots lightning back at you. But after 9 streams and roughly 30 hours of fighting this one boss, I finally beat him. Motherfucker! I got him! No! I died on the... No! I died on the fucking death animation. So normally, this wouldn't be a big deal. Here's what happened. As you can see, I did in fact reduce his hit points to 0 and trigger the death animation. Dying to a spare projectile or something like that after the boss dies is generally okay, even under no hit rules. If I were to die here normally, the animation would continue and he would fully die and drop his loot. But for this run, I have been using the Nycro's no hit efficiency mod. It gives these lovely little battle stats at the end of the fight, including my attempt number, and adds an array of features to make boss fighting a little less nightmarish. One setting that I find imperative to keeping my sanity is the instant respawn setting. Having to wait 15 fucking seconds to refight the boss after dying in regular Terraria is infuriating. The problem is that some Terraria bosses take a few seconds to leave after you die. So if you instantly respawn before the boss goes away, it'll cancel the boss despawning and continue the fight. I had this happen early on in this very run during I Cthulhu. So I use another setting that despawns all bosses if I die. See the problem? Because I got hit and died, Nycros, seeing that the Moonlord entity was still in the world, despawned it before the death animation finished and the boss truly died. Even though I reduced the hit points to 0 and defeated Moonlord, according to the in-game world, it did not count. But the death animation isn't a desperation phase. The boss bar is gone. The fight is over. So I got a consensus. I made a poll in chat. I was tired of this fight. Everyone else was too. There's nothing I wanted more than to move on, but it just felt weird. So I also put out a message in the Fargo Cord to ask more knowledgeable people than me if this is generally counted as legit. It counts as a win, yes? Thank you, Red. Red isn't a no-hit judge, but they hold the titles of Cruel Eternity God and Supreme Masochist God, and there was a general consensus from other no-hitters as well. This wasn't a no-hit, but I've been generally trying to stick to the no-hit rules as much as I can, minus no mounts, because you can pry the poke goat from my cold, dead hands. Anyway, the consensus is that my kill is in fact legit. But of course, he wasn't actually defeated yet in the eyes of my world, and I still needed his loot. And I had yet to fight Eternity Moonlord. I wanted to see how easy it was in comparison. Activated. Eternity mode activated. There we go. Okay, now I get to see what Eternity Moonlord looks like. And this will count as our, like, victory or whatever. All right, let's see. Oh my God, he moves so slow. Oh, that is weird. Oh, that is weird. They've got like guidelines. The laser's tiny. What the fuck? Where are my buffs? I can't. What's going on here? Like, where's all my? I can't. Oh, I can featherfall. Okay, dude, we're still in. Okay, we just entered Nebula or Vortex. This is insane. What the hell? This is so easy. Okay. Oh, that's what's going on. Right. I'm on expert now. So I'm taking knockback because my lump of flesh is off. This is weird. This is disorienting. What the fuck, man? Why is this? We cannot be real. This is how easy Eternity Moonlord is. What the fuck, man? The difference between Eternity and Legendary Masochist is ridiculous. That's insane. But yeah, with the Moonlord finally defeated after so long, I am in the home stretch. A few mini bosses that should be cake, and then the final 3. I just hope Mutant doesn't take a year to beat, because that would suck. If you enjoyed this and want to see me suffer against the true final boss in a few weeks or so, or watch the home stretch build up, that subscribe button is the perfect tool to facilitate that. Or join the Discord where I ping live notifications. Or hell, why not both? But that is all I have for you today. I'm hard at work on the Journey Mode Skyblock video, which should be out at the end of July-ish. Stick around if you want to see a different kind of torture in that one. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.